Standard 9th. Subject English. Mark Twain. Children, now let's come to the lesson. Mark Twain. Mark Twain was pen name of Samuel Langhorne Clemens, a popular American writer. He was famous for his humorous stories, novels, and other writings. He is ready with shown through everyday conversations. Many anecdotes related to Mark Twain are told and enjoyed even today. Anecdotes means a short and interesting account of a real incident, दाखले or मनोरंजक प्रसंग. It should be noted that he was a great defender of human values like liberty, equality, and fraternity. Liberty, freedom, स्वातंत्र्य, state of being free. Fraternity, being brotherly, बंधुत्व. He opposed war and imperialism and supported the cause of laborers and of the black people in his country, America. Imperialism means the making of empires, Samrajya Shahi. Let's read some of his interesting anecdotes. In this write up, we find many short and comic stories about Mark Twain. These stories show his wit and humor. He also told humorous interpretations about English spellings under the title Plan for the Improvement of English Spelling. He spelled many words by dropping some letters. For example, the word ear is written as IER. Mark Twain also provided some quotations at the end of the lesson. These quotations show his mastery and skills over a language and human value. So, let's start with some anecdotes. First anecdote. One day, during a lecture tour, Mark Twain entered a local barber shop for a shave. He told him that it was his first visit to that town. Then barber declared that he had chosen a good time to come because Mark Twain was going to lecture there that night. Then he asked, "Have you bought your ticket yet?" Twain said, "No, not yet." Then barber replied, "Well, it's sold out, so you will have to stand." Twain said with a sigh, "Oh, just my luck. I al- I always have to stand when that fellow lectures. Because when we address someone, we always stand before audience." Here, Twain did not tell the barber who he was because he didn't want to disclose his identity. Second anecdote. Mrs. Stowe was leaving for Florida. One morning, Mrs. Stowe was a famous writer. Uncle Tom's Cabin is her most renowned book. Mrs. Stowe and Mark Twain were neighbors for many years. And when she was leaving for Florida, Clemens means Mark Twain ran over early to say goodbye. On his return, Mrs. Clemens regarded him disapprovingly, unwillingly, नापसंतीने. She said, "Why, you haven't on any collar and tie?" He didn't give any reply, but went up his room, packed these items, means collar and tie, and sent it over to Mrs. Stowe by a servant with a line, "Here with receive a call from the rest of me." Third anecdote. One day, Twain's friend Henry Irving told him a humorous story. Abruptly, abruptly means suddenly, अचानकपणे. Suddenly he stopped and examined his friend's face and asked if he had heard the story before, because he saw some unusual expression on his face. He guessed that Mark Twain heard this story before, but Twain assured him that he had not. Some time later, Irving again paused and again posed the question, and Twain again reassured him. Then, approaching the climax, Irving broke off once more. "Are you quite sure you haven't heard this?" he demanded suspiciously. Then Twain finally replied, "I can lie once, I can lie twice for courtesy's sake, but I draw the line there. I can't lie the third time at any price. I not only heard the story, I invented it. This is my story and I invented it. So I know that story." Fourth anecdote. One day during his tenure as the editor of a small Missouri newspaper, Mark Twain received a letter from a reader who found a spider in his paper. Tenure, the period of holding office, means कारकीर्द. He received a letter from a reader who was asking him whether finding a spider in his paper portended good or bad luck. Portended, to foreshadow, means अगाऊ सूचित करणे, आधीच प्रिटेंड करणे. Then Twain replied, "Finding a spider in your paper is neither good luck nor bad. The spider was merely looking over our paper to see which merchant was not advertising so that he could go to that store, spin his web across the door, and lead a life of undisturbed peace ever afterwards." Twain's reply to the reader shows that he did not believe in superstitions, whereas we should take such situations humorously. So he replied to that reader, or he wanted to highlight that there was no logical reason behind superstitions, as the spider just happened to be there on the newspaper. It is just by chance. He also wanted to highlight that we should not believe in superstition. Twain explained that the spider was on the paper to see which merchant was not advertising, and so that he could go to that store, spin his web across the door, and lead a life of undisturbed peace afterwards.